A long, long time ago. Well before any of you were born, God gave the world 3 gifts. Guinness, a criminal defense attorney, and a bar to bring the 2 together. 1934, Terry MacCarthy was born. And he was that criminal defense attorney. And from that combination of gifts, we were delivered our champion. You might not have known this, but in the 70s, criminal defense attorneys did not give opening statements. So instead of sitting here all day and being embarrassed and having to work through your opening statements, you would have been at the bar. But oh no, Terry MacCarthy was a promoter of you do not waive opening statements. He was a champion of our cause. And you all had to work very hard today. It wasn't just opening statements, but he has been at NCDC since the year it began, 1973. Every single year, every single June, the first week of June, every single year, except for the year that he had quintuple bypass surgery. Other than that, every single year, 35 years, and 96 of you, 35 years. That's a hell of a lot of people he has had some mind control of. 35 years. But in that time, he started a system of cross that even Group L is going to be able to do. I love you. Hey.
And maybe A if we're lucky.
Hey. Megan, my Group L people, even you guys are going to be the masters of this. And that's because of the champion of our cause. Terry MacCarthy has also written a book, MacCarthy on Cross-Examination.
Clever title.
It's a good one to read while you're drinking again. But it's not just you folks that he has trained. He has traveled the country from Trinity College in Dublin, Iowa, to China, to every single state in the United States. He has taught his system of cross. He has promoted the non-waiver of opening statements, and he has taken young lawyers and said, you can be good. There isn't one person that has gone through MCDC that has not been touched in some way by this man. He has given each and every one of you. Each and every one of you is going to leave today a better lawyer in knowing how to cross.
And if you hadn't bought you a Guinness yet, see him this afternoon.
I'm hoping to get a Guinness out of this intro myself. In 2000, he received the Defender of the Century Award. I give you the beloved, the master, the great one himself, Terry MacCarthy.
Yeah!
Sounded more like a eulogy. I think I should get a box open. But, and it's also maybe just a little bit longer than the talk I'm about to do. Thank you very much. I go back with that young lady many a year. I remember when she was in the baby defender program, the federal defender knows when I speak, and she was one of the, well, misfits in the baby program. She survived. Okay. Each and all of you want to become better cross-examiners. Good God, you're criminal defense lawyers. Most of what we do involves cross-examination, let's face it, okay? So you want to get better at cross-examination. You want to get better? Yes. I'm going to give you three simple things to work on, and if you work on these three things, you will improve your ability to cross-examine by 70%. Not a bad deal, huh? Okay, what are they? Number one, I want you to look good. That's all. Look good. Now, most of you will have no problem. There's a couple in here. Might have a little problem with that, but I want you to simply look good. Let me explain that to you very briefly and then we can drop it, okay? When I started practicing law, as she's given away, it was a long, long time ago. And there weren't, by the way, there were no programs to teach you to be a trial lawyer, programs such as this. They did not exist. And so to learn to do cross-examination, I asked people, how do I learn it? What do I do? You know what they told me? Go in the courtroom and watch the greats and the near greats. Watch them do their cross-examinations and you learn from them. Well, this is the British way. Anything that's the British way is the screwed up way. Spoken from a true Irishman, right? But anyway, that's what I did. And I walked in the courtrooms and I watched the greats and the near greats cross-examine, and I learned the philosophy of cross-examination. Oh my God, a philosophy of cross-examination taught then and now. By who? By us, by criminal defense lawyers. We teach cross and the prosecutors teach direct, okay, to all the trial, right? And I watched it, and I learned it, and I learned the philosophy. The philosophy was relatively simple. Attack, pillage, plunder, leave no prisoners, okay? And you got up and you just wanted to eat that witness alive, you know, go after him. And that's what I did. I became pretty damn good at it, eating them alive. Of course, using that system back in those days, I was the #1 reason for overcrowding in a federal penitentiary. Because I was cross-examining in this manner, okay? One little side story, which I think sets this pretty well. We all have certain instincts that are good. Now, we may not know how to perfect what we instinctively know we should do, and I was that way. I knew then, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, but I knew then that I wanted to end on a high note. With primacy, recency, we'll talk about those in a moment. But recency, I wanted to end on a high note. But that was fine, but I didn't know how the hell do you end on a high note, you know? So I did the best I could. And so at the end of a cross-examination, inevitably, I would look at the witness on the stand, Peter the perjurer, there he is, okay? And I would look at Peter right at the end, and I'd let it fly out. This was my recency. Oh, we can agree you're a no-good, rotten liar! And it's about that tone of voice, okay? And the young prosecutor, half shaken from his chair, would say, Your Honor, I object. And the judge would say, Sustained. I didn't give a shite. And sustained, the jury heard it. What, are you going to pull it back? You know, and I was happy. And I sat down a happy man. And when I sat down, Johnny would be waiting for me. And Johnny would put his big left arm over my shoulder and say, Hey, good going, counselor. You kicked the shit out of him. And here I am, letting this soon-to-be convicted felon, I'm letting him evaluate my cross-examination. And over there in the jury box, the jurors are saying to themselves, Hey, is there some way we can convict that obnoxious lawyer? That guy is a jerk, okay? And of course, at the end of the trial, Johnny is convicted. I repair over to Binion's where I have a few drinks and talk about the added trial experience I just gained. Well, that is the philosophy. By the way, it's a philosophy that should have gone out with starched underwear, but unfortunately, it hasn't yet entirely. So my first message to you is don't cross-examine that way. If you do, you're going to turn off the jury, and when you're trying a case, the most important thing to you is have the jury like you. And if they don't like you, forget it. Fold up the tent, plea bargain, whatever the Christ you want to do. You gotta get them to like you, and they will not like you if you're an obnoxious jerk, okay? So I want you to look good when you cross-examine. The next two I will mention, but we will not cover them now. I will cover them, though, in my comments to you. Second thing I want you to do, oh, gosh, I don't have to really bring this message to you too strongly. It's been brought to you by this wonderful faculty here already. And that is, I want you to tell a story. Just as everybody is emphasizing, even in voir dire, in the opening statement, tell a story. Well, cross is no different. This is storytelling time. You must tell a story in cross. Why tell a story? Because if you don't tell a story, you're going to give a law school brief. And there's nothing that will bore people more than a law school brief. Oh my God. The hardest problem in training young trial lawyers is disabusing them of the shit they learned in law school and that law school brief print. You just heard two opening statements that had interstitial. Those were not briefs. Those were stories. Parenthetically, I got to make a comment here. I've been coming down here every year since they opened the doors in '73. By the way, I was 12 at the time. But I just felt that the presentations I have heard here at this session are as good as any I have ever heard in the history of it. And this college is the greatest. But these presentations have been great, which proves to me that if you can keep a faculty reasonably sober, they do a relatively good job. Okay? So anyway, I want you to tell a story. We'll talk just a little bit about it. I'm not the one to talk to you about that. And the third thing I want you to do is, while looking good, while telling this story, I want you to tell the story with short statements. Short statements. And that I will further explain to you as I explain the system to you. Now, three things I have to do with you this afternoon. Number one, and I think the most important of the three, is I've got to share with you a system and a style of cross-examination. A complete system, complete style, a turnkey operation, if you will. You can buy the franchise, so to speak. Well, can I use it for everybody? Yes. Experts? Oh my God, Roy Black has been on national TV saying, I wouldn't think of cross-examining an expert without using Terry's system, okay? So it's experts, child witnesses, yes, but I know little about that, to be honest with you, but I'm told by people who do, it works with them. Everybody, you're gonna use this system on a system and a style. Incidentally, parenthetic, where was this system and style created? Where was it born? In a courtroom something? No. Born right here in Macon, Georgia, at the college, okay? I got a divine inspiration one year. I stayed relatively sober that summer. I got a little divine inspiration. And the system and style I'm about to share with you was born right here with you kind of people, in the groups, in the breakout groups. That's where it was born. Anyway, now I gotta be candid with you. When you try a case, the biggest thing you've got going is your own credibility. If you lose that credibility with the jury, again, fold up to 10, okay? Your credibility is paramount. It's important. So I've got to keep my credibility with you now. And doing that, I confess to you that the litigation section of the ABA, and I have a lot of respect for litigation. I don't know, it's an expensive proposition to be in the ABA and its litigation section, so many of you may not be in it. But if you're not, try and find a law library. They have those around you. And get their magazine comes out and read their magazine. It's good. There's some great stories. Oh, there's some crap in there by civil lawyers who don't know what day it is. But there's usually some very good articles in that magazine, and get it. But anyway, the litigation section of the ABA calls my system of cross-examination a contrarian system. Holy shit, contrarian. I've been a public defender for over 42 years. That's a big word for me. I had to look it up. What does this contrarian shit mean? So I looked it up. And contrarian, I found out, just means different. So my system will be different, okay? But the interesting thing is, that same litigation section, they used to call me every other year. Terry, yeah, could you give us some more of that contrarian stuff of yours? Sure, I'll do it. They used to call me every other year. Then 2 years ago, they got up to once a year. And this year, they're up to twice. I'm doing one for them in July, and then I'm doing another one, where's Amanda? In Baltimore, last Friday of the month. Where is she? Okay, in Baltimore. Jody, I tell you that. Last Friday of the month in Baltimore. But I'll talk to you, I'll give you the details. So I'm doing another one. So, contrarian, yeah, but they want to learn it. And now I'm going to tell you something. This system, born at this college, okay, this system is taking over, at least in the really good trial lawyers, okay? Many of the top trial lawyers are using the system. They're actually starting to teach it, but they don't fully understand it quite yet. At NITA is trying to teach this system, okay? They teach it at Western Trial Ad. We've been teaching it here for, 20 years? And so it is coming in, slowly, I admit, but it is coming into play. A little downside for you. I found out 3 years ago that the Department of Justice is using a tape of mine cut in '92, I think. Oh God, yeah, but '92, an old tape of mine they're using to teach it. But don't worry about that. Those of you who practice in the federal court, no problem. Why? They don't have the personality to carry it on. So don't bother yourself. You people are possessed of the personality to carry it on. Okay? So the system does work, and there are a lot of people, as I say, using it. So when you go back to South Jesus, Kansas, or wherever you went, when you go back there, you'll be able to use it. It's coming in, and it's coming in like wildfire, okay? The second thing I have to do is disabuse you. I said I talked enough about book good, but I didn't yet. I want to disabuse you, many of you, of your present thinking on cross-examination. Okay. Her Honor, or His Honor, looks down at you and says, counsel, you may cross-examine. So what do? I'm going back to Peter the Perjurer here. You'll look for people with the Lombrosian characteristics you want. A perjurer, I got it right here, okay? So anyway, here's what you see if you go into most courtrooms today, or turn on court TV. This is what you see when somebody stands up to cross-examine. It goes down something like this, and I dare say many of you do it this way, okay? You look down at Peter, and you snarl. You don't like him very much, and probably he don't like you either, but you don't like him, and you look down with a snarl on your face, and you go something like this. He looks back at you, as I say, not liking you very much, and what does he do? He goes, well, rah-rah yourself. And then you go again, rah-rah-rah-rah-rah, and then him, rah-rah-rah-rah-rah. And hopefully your rah-rah-rah-rah-rahs are a little bit longer than his rah-rah-rah-rah-rahs, okay? That is called, I gave it a name, but you won't find the name anyplace else, dialogue cross-examination. Why dialogue? Because first I'm going to speak a little bit, now you speak a little bit. Now it's my turn again, now it's your turn again. Dialogue cross-examination. If you are using dialogue cross-examination, you should go into dentistry. Okay? We have too many tools available to us as cross-examiners that we don't want to let cross-examination denigrate to dialogue. How can you know it's dialogue? I'll tell you how you can know, and see if this hasn't happened to you a few times. You can always tell dialogue cross because there will be a great deal of arguing, bickering, and quarreling. You saw the car. No, I didn't see the car. Well, you had your glasses on, didn't you? Yeah, I had the glass, but I didn't see the damn car. Well, you had to see the car, you lardy rotten liar. No, I didn't see the car. And people think this is cross-examination. This is horseshit, okay? With the tools available to you, this is not what we should be doing. Well, what the hell should we be doing? The opposite of dialogue cross-examination. How about well, I was going to say monologue, that's an appropriate word, but how about you being the only speaker in cross-examination, okay? And this witness here, he has a cameo role. He will get no awards for what he's doing. I want him simply up there saying, yes, 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 arf, arf, arf. And that's what I want him doing. Nothing more, nothing less. That's the goal of cross-examination. I'm going to teach you how to do that, how to do that type of cross-examination before the afternoon is over, okay? So we are not going to do dialogue cross-examination. We're going to do monologue cross-examination. I being the speaker, okay? That's what we're going to do. Now, I have a couple examples here, but I'm not going to give it to you. Time is not an ally here. Okay, so the third thing I want to do with you now, okay, hey, Terry, I'm on board. Teach me this system, this style of cross-examination, and I'm willing to learn it, and I'm willing to take on the fact that it's going to be a monologue cross-examination. Now I get those two tongue-tied. Now the dialogue cross-examination, okay? I'm willing to do that. Now, tell me a little more. Okay, now the big question is, I'm going to do cross-examination. What in the hell am I going to say? To whom am I going to say it? And how am I going to say it? Let me answer those three, and then we can get into a little more specifics, okay? First of all, what are you going to say? You know what you're going to say. Good God, this faculty has told you. You're going to tell a story. You're not going to give a damn law school brief with interstitial details that are stupid. You're gonna use things that are important to your story, okay? And you're gonna tell that story, huh? Made up from that first day. When you put on the board the good themes you had, well, you're gonna bring the bad themes in there. You gotta combine those, you gotta address those, the good and the bad themes. And anyway, it's gonna be one story? No, it's gonna be several stories. And you're gonna have several stories developed from those themes, okay? So that's what you're going to do in cross-examination. Second one. This is gonna, oh, I should have told you this. Every once in a while, I should have, but already I could have, waved a red flag. And when I wave the red flag, what I am telling you is that what I'm about to tell you is contrary to the conventional wisdom. Very contrary to conventional wisdom. I told you mine is a contrarian system. Let me tell you right at the get-go, I divert here a little bit. I'm an agnostic. I'm a non-believer. I do not believe in the Bible of cross-examination, a book written by Francis Wellman, a New York lawyer in 1904. It's a horseshit book if you want to learn cross. It's good if you like history, but not how to learn cross-examination. And I'm not a believer in the New Testament, Irving Younger's most popular CLE talk in history, the 10 Commandments of cross-examination. Irving Younger was one of the finest CLE speakers I've ever known. He also was one of the brightest people I ever knew, and I really enjoyed the man. He was a good friend, although I told him something. The problem with Irving Younger is, what was he? He wasn't you. He wasn't a trial lawyer. He was an evidence teacher. There are a few handfuls of evidence teachers around the world who are phenomenal. They're people that have a sense of trial act. But by and large, evidence teachers, oh, good God, they have screwed up trial advocacy more than any single paper in the history of the world. Okay? And Irv was an evidence teacher, and he didn't know squat about cross-examination. I told him that when he was, I hastened his death telling him. But anyway, I don't believe in either of those. And by the way, parenthetically, what did they call cross-examination? They called it an art. An art, good God. It took me years, I'm not that sort. It took me years to figure out why they would call it an art when it isn't. And then it dawned on me, and a flaming tongue came to me one day, and I figured it all out. They called it an art for good reason. They called it an art because they knew they could not teach it. Now they've got an excuse. I can't teach you to be an artist, young lady. You know, either you got it or you don't. Tough shit. Well, cross-examination is not an art, and each and every one of you can, and I'm hoping by tomorrow, at the end of the day, you will learn how to do cross-examination, okay? Now, red flag. I get good off on side roads every once in a while. Very well. Okay, now here's a red flag. And you're going to have problems with this tomorrow. I can assure you you'll have problems with it tomorrow. My group, I will disabuse them of doing it because I have a little method of doing it. Something like waterboarding, but it works. Anyway, now, we know we're going to tell a story. Now the question is, to whom do we tell the story? If I were to ask all of you collectively, I know what the answer would be. You would say, when I cross-examine, I put the blinders on, I look at old Peter the perjurer, and it's all back and forth. And that's the way 90% of you do your cross-examination. It's you and Peter and back and forth and back and forth. That's not the way it should be done. If you've got a story, it's a good story, who the hell do you suppose you might want it coming from? How about the jury? Now, I will confess to you and tell you, I want you to have both sides of this. But about 8 or 9 years ago, we're doing a program in a very renowned criminal defense lawyer, and, as a matter of fact, a great cross-examiner too. We're having dinner, and he said to me, you know, he said, I love your system, I've changed my method, I'm using your system, but you're wrong in one thing. Holy shit, what's that? He said, this bullshit you're teaching these kids about telling your story to the jury, that's wrong. I said, what do you mean? He said, when I cross-examine, it's mano a mano, I get those blind, it's all me and no witness, and I'll be damned if I'm looking at that jury. I respect this man tremendously. Well, I was concerned, so I figured I better check this out. Am I going to call my good friends, other trial lawyers? No. Why? Because those dipshits then were the view he was. It's all right in here. So I'm not about to call a trial lawyer for the answer. I called communicators. Two of them, one on the East Coast and one on the West Coast. Okay? On the East Coast, I called a woman who very few people know the name anymore. It used to be Sonia Hamill. Anybody ever hear the name Sonia Hamill? Nobody in this room? That's interesting. Okay. Sonia was the guru of NEDA for many years. Not a lawyer, but a communicator. And she was the one who was in charge of teaching communications at NEDA programs. And she did a great job. She wrote several books. A very bright lady, a good lady. I called her and I said, Sonia, question. Yeah. And I gave her the question. And when I get up and do my cross, who am I talking to? Peter, or am I talking to the jury over there? And she started laughing. She said, Terry, I've seen you do 6 or 7 demos, and I love the way you do it, and you're absolutely right. You tell your story to the jury. Now, she said, however, and she said, you do it all right. You don't just go up, take one look at this guy and never look at him again, you know, and then concentrate on the jury. There are times you've got to look at him for control purposes, for whatever, but you're going to look at him once in a while, but the guts of the story goes to the jury. And I said, Jesus, Sonia, thank you very much, I feel better. And I grabbed another phone again, and I called Josh Carton, mentioned to you, Heather, mentioned Josh to you. Josh is, by the way, the very, very best communications teacher I have ever worked with in my life. And Josh is good. He is very good. So I called Josh. I said, Josh, same question, repeated same issue, right? And guess what? Josh started laughing. He said, Terry, I've seen you do 15 crosses, demo crosses. He said, you're absolutely right. He said, I try and get lawyers to do what you do, to give the story to the jury and not the perjury P. So now I felt I was right. So I have been teaching it this way since, and I teach it to you. When you have problems with that, you'll have big problems with it. Tomorrow, well, who's going to have the biggest problems? The bunch of clowns that I'm going to have. The A group who have done so many cross-examinations. Who will have the least problems tomorrow? My beloved Elvis. They haven't committed these things, you see, and they will coast right by this stuff, okay? So, I want you to work on telling your story to the jury, not the perjuring P. It'll be difficult, but you can do it, okay? And that leads us to the final thing. And again, this is really Josh Carton's area, not mine, but I do have to say a couple of things so that tomorrow, when you get up, you're fully equipped to handle this. We're going to tell a story, we're going to tell it to the jury, but when you're telling a story, what does this involve? It involves communications. Ask me what the most important trait of a good trial lawyer is, and I'll tell you, be a communicator. You want to be a great trial lawyer? You've got to be a communicator. Well, Terry, what about evidence? Don't I have to know evidence to be a great trial lawyer? Hell no. Oh, judges don't know evidence. Why do you have to know? But you must be a communicator. That's what you got to do. You've got to get up and communicate. Well, is there anything that can help me be a better communicator? Oh, yeah. Just look at these faculty members when they're sober. It's incredible what they do with and for you, okay? But when you're communicating, I'm just going to give you 3 things to work on tomorrow when you're communicating. Number 1, look at people in the eyes. When you're talking to somebody, I have a hard time going beyond a couple of rows here because I do not see out of my right eye, I'll tell you. That's a long story. But anyway, look at people in the eyes when you're talking to them. Don't stare at one person for too long, but switch around and not necessarily in a given order. You want to go around, okay. So you look at people, number 1. Number 2, and they did incredible research on this out in one of those schools for lower learning they have out in Boston, okay? And they have 4 years of research on this, and it's great stuff. We never pay any attention to it, but it's stuff we should concern ourselves with. You know what they came up with? You want to be a better communicator? You want people to like you? You're doing it right now, young lady, and that's why I'm looking at you. All you have to do is smile. They would send people into a drugstore, and the person would go in and smile, and oh God, they get all kinds of service. 3 weeks later, send the same person in, same drugstore, same lady behind the counter, and they go in with a Nancy Grace face. And oh God, the service was horseshit, okay? And so, by the way, you young ladies in particular, men as well, but young ladies in particular, didn't your mother and father ever tell you when you were growing up and you walked around with that sour puss, didn't they ever say to you, hey, don't walk around like that, your face is going to turn out that way when you get to be a woman? Did they ever tell you that? Sure. What the Christ happened to Nancy Grace's parents? Holy shit, these people dropped the ball big time. So, what I want you to do, and it's all part of looking good, I want you, that's it, I want you to smile. Because if you smile, the world will smile with you, okay? And they will like you if you smile. Don't put on the Nancy Grace shit, okay? We reserve that for prosecutors, okay? I want you to smile. So we're going to look at people, we're going to smile. And the third thing, and this may be the most important of the 3, but the third thing is body language. You've got to use body language. It's critically important. We had a juror yesterday in the L group, okay? We had a woman juror who had some of the best body language I have ever seen in my life, okay? But you've got to use body language. When you can, there's all kinds of research on this, most of it from Los Angeles. A guy by the name of Meridian or something, Dr. Meridian has done it. But there's 3 things you give out when you're communicating. One is the substance of what you're trying to say. Second are the terms or words you're using to say it. Very important. The third one, by and away, the most important, believe it or not, shock you, body language. Body language is more important than anything when you are communicating. So you've got to use body language. Now, if you happen to have been born Italian, you probably will not have a big problem with this, okay? And you'll be using it naturally. If you don't use it naturally, start to bring it in. Okay, well, Tara, real quick, is there any terrible body language we should? Yeah, of course, you know you don't want to point like this at people. We know that, right? The other one, the MacCarthy rule on body language is do not use body language used by politicians, okay? Even John F. Kennedy, great orator, great presenter. Do you remember John F. Kennedy's body language? This was it, remember? Looks like he's got a salt shaker or something up here. He's putting it on his right ear, okay? And this was it. And what happened with that? Every politician used it they're still using it. Yeah, they like it. Everybody ran for the school board back in your South Jesus, Kansas. They ran and said, and I will be a better school board member than anybody else. Everybody used it. It's horseshit, it's terrible. You don't want to use it. Oh, our late, unbeloved President George Bush, okay? Oh, the master of body language indeed. That was it, you know? What a jalopy. But anyway, that's body language we don't want. Well, then Terry, tell us, would you just share with us one good body language, one we should maybe practice a little bit, and one we can always use with super kind? Yes, I will, okay? And here it is. It's simple. Use it tomorrow. There, all of the communication people agree. There it is. The best body language you can ever use is right there. So most of you come from small little towns. You walk to work in the morning, you don't see anybody, but you're walking along, going to work, and who do you see? You see a dog in the alley. And I want you to start practicing. Look at the dog. Look at him in the eyes, okay? Now, if he growls at you, you may want to pull off of that. But normally, just look at him in the eyes. And then secondly, smile at him. And then look at the dog and say something and go like this. Practice it on your way to the office or the courtroom. So we're going to use body language. 3 rules. First one I don't have to cover because I already have. And the first one, these are sort of housekeeping rules for cross-examination. You want to look good, I told you, and that's important. A series of 3 minor housekeeping rules that I would like you to observe tomorrow. They're not the most important of all, but they are important enough for me to mention them. And here you go. Are you ready for them? What the hell? Yes, that's it. I can't see very well. I should know. Behind me, no. See that thing over there? That's a lectern. They have those in all of your courtrooms, okay? Well, why do they have them in your courtrooms? For prosecutors. Because prosecutors are not physically able to stand without draping themselves on these goddamn lecterns, okay? Encourage the prosecutors to use them. As a matter of fact, even to the point of padding the top of them so that elbows won't get sore, okay? Why? Because you want to improve your communications. You do not want to use a lectern. With the possible exception of direct examination, or indeed, if any of you ever do direct examination, but if you do direct examination, then I'll allow you to go behind the lectern. But other than that, never stand behind a lectern. Because if you do, if you do, what's happened to body language? Most of your body is covered. Now, we happen to have humongous lecterns in northern Illinois. My angel knows that, of course. And they're huge. By the way, those marshals, they're no wise asses. When I walk in the courtroom, they always look at me and say, Terry, and you know what? The lectern is so big, don't you? Of course I know. I've heard the joke 22 times, but you got to make off the hear it, right? So I know. Why are the because they were built big to anticipate your growth. Oh, you dumb shits. I don't say that to them. You're trying to keep them fun friends. But anyway, ours are big. Ours are higher than that. About the same width, but higher. It takes 2 marshals to move them for the opening statements and closing arguments, okay? Well, I happen to stand 6'3". A couple of you in here are a wee bit shorter than I am. And you dippos know what you look like behind the here's the lectern. Here's if you happen to be redheaded, we can see a few strands of red hair. So don't stand behind the lectern, okay? By the way, this is funny, but I've been preaching this for years, and I've always used the Southern Baptist preachers as an example. And several of my dear, dear friends from down south here, about 8, 10 years ago, I don't know how long it was, came up to me in excitement one time And they said, Terry, have you seen what's happened? I said, no, I didn't see what's happened. What happened? They said, they must have listened to you. I said, why is that? They said, have you seen the lecterns? No. Well, the next Sunday, I gave up the NFL football game and watched the Baptist preachers, okay? And guess what? What are their lecterns made out of now? Glass. They're made out of glass. So they said they must have heard you. Ah, fine, so they're glass. That's an improvement. It's not perfect, but it's an improvement. But you watch them. They're good speakers, by the way. And you watch them. They will get behind the lectern for some stuff. Oh, they'll read the Bible to you from behind the lectern. But when it comes to the important stuff, they're good communicators. They know for the important stuff, they get alongside or up in front of the lectern. That's when they're asking you for money, for instance. They okay? So don't use a lectern. You don't want a lectern. You're going to stand at the side of it is all right. I have no problem with that. But I want your body to show, okay? If I can show my body, good God, you people can show yours, okay? Oh, here. This is in particular for those of you from the Los Angeles area, okay? You are the ones that brought this into fashion, and it's still going on. But how many times do you see a lawyer get up to do, well, primarily direct examination, but once in a while, cross-examination as well, and they go up armed. Armed with what? Armed with a writing instrument in their hand. And they go up there and they're doing whatever the Christ it is they're doing with this in their hand. I will unequivocally tell you that any and every communicator the world over will tell you that if I talk to you with this in my hand, this is a major impediment, a distraction in my ability to communicate with you. Well, if it's a distraction, damn it, don't use it. Oh yeah, that's easy for you to say, Terry, but the witness may say something that's important to me, and I want to remember what it was. Well, okay, let's remember. But wouldn't it be more important that maybe, oh, this would be a lovely jury right here. I like this jury here. Oh, wouldn't it? Maybe not all of them, but most. I pick on people that I like. But anyway, I want the jury to remember it, more importantly than me remembering it. So what am I going to do? I'm going to write, well, you just took the pen away from us. I know, I'm not going to write it with a pen or a pencil. What am I going to write with? A piece of chalk. If you want to be a trial lawyer, MacCarthy and trial advocacy, here it is. You use blackboards. Blackboards, God damn it, blackboard. Oh, wait a minute, McCarthy, we're into PowerPoint. Oh, PowerPoint's horseshit compared to blackboards. There's been research done on that, by the way, but you want to use a blackboard. I'll give you an example. One of your Western cousins, Jerry Spence. Say whatever you want about Jerry, negative, whatever. But one thing about Jerry is he's an incredibly able trial lawyer, okay? Jerry's a great trial lawyer. And to me, his greatest feat of Jerry Spence as a trial lawyer is his use of a blackboard. Has anybody in here ever seen Jerry Spence give a talk and not use a blackboard? Okay, there, I answered. Jerry Spence cannot communicate without a blackboard. I can see him in the morning with Imogene. Imogene, this morning for breakfast, I will have 2 scrambled eggs, 1 piece of dried toast, 1 glass of water. He's got to write it down on the blackboard, okay? He is a genius with the blackboard, and we could learn much from him with the blackboard. Oh, what's the genius of the blackboard? Stop and think about it. Who used a blackboard when you were an impressionable first, second, and third grader? The all-knowing teacher used it. You can eat and all, and you still smell the chalk dust in your nostrils, right? And that was the word of God when it went up on that blackboard. That was from the flaming bush, okay? And so blackboards have a special place, and use them. Yeah, but Terry, I don't have a blackboard. That's no problem. You have an Italian restaurant in town? If you've got an Italian restaurant in town, you have the potential of a blackboard. Most Italian restaurants, right outside the front door, have a small blackboard which has the specials of the day on it. Now, it's not the perfect blackboard for you in the courtroom, but, you know, take what you can and that's it. Because it's got a guy up there with a big chef's hat on. And he's got a big red handlebar mustache, and he'll have a red bandana around his neck, okay? And then the blackboard follows that. Well, when you're finished with the meal, you're leaving, you're walking out. Look around. Grab it and take it with you. That's your trial blackboard from now on. You know, the jury's going to wonder about this guy. So that's in honor of the prosecutor. So anyway, I want you to get a blackboard and get it. I've had lawyers practicing for 20 years who will look at me and say, you mean, Terry, I could write on the blackboard as crossing or direct exams? Yes, you can. Only one requirement. The witness must say it. But I'm going to give you a system of cross where you can get the witness to say anything you want them to say. The witness isn't going to say it. You're going to say it in cross, and the witness is merely going to go, like this, you know, okay? But as long as the witness says it, you can write it on the blackboard. You cannot go on cross-examination. This is rather obvious, isn't it? You can't just go up there and write during cross. You're a lying SOB. You can't do that. But write on the blackboard. And it's a great way to make sure the jury knows something, okay?
Mr. McCarthy?
Well, why don't we wait? If I take questions, we'll never finish. But
It was real quick on
on the other, well, it can be awful quick, but it'll have to wait till the end. No, in fairness, because then we'll never finish. But I will stay here. I will not abandon you, okay? I will stay and answer your questions. I promise you that. But I won't take them right now. And the final one is notes. Oh, what about notes, Terry? Can we have notes? Yeah, you can have notes. I've talked with some wonderful trial ad teachers who don't want you to have notes. And what they'll do to you, oh, I can tell you what they'll do. You're getting ready to deliver your opening statement, young man. And they'll say, well, now, before you start, look over there at the picture on the wall. And as soon as you look over there, they steal your notes. I'm not into that. You can have notes. But you know now the evil of notes. The evil of notes is don't read from them and talk to your jury at the same time. Because if I get down here now and I'm reading from these notes, there goes my eye contact with you. I have lost the eye contact, and that's no good. So you can have notes, but don't read from them, okay? One last thing, and then we'll get into the system itself. Do you have any water around here, Gungadin? If there's Irish whiskey in it, I won't object. Even just plain, ordinary water. I don't mean to impose on you, but I'd love to get a little water. Okay. Here you go. If you go to most trial advocacy programs, excluding this, the best of them all, if you go to most of these programs, they will teach you the importance of primacy and recency. That's wonderful, that's good. But for some ungodly reason, which I do not understand, maybe somebody can someday explain it to me, they will not stress the importance of primacy and recency in cross-examination, nor for that matter, in direct is changing. Jim MacCarthy, who's the guru of the civil trial, he's good, people. Jim is bringing what I'm going to teach you in a moment into civil trial advocacy in direct examination. And Jim is going to follow shortly in cross. I know him, and I know where he's going to go, okay? But they don't teach you the importance in cross-examination. By the way, is there any reason I have to keep this jacket on? You know, we're down here in the middle of the Sahara Desert. I'm going to take this off and be a wee bit right now that when you get up tomorrow to do your cross-examinations, we are going to be conscious of the need of primacy and recency. Primacy above all, okay? I want you to start on a high note. Heather mentioned this in her talk. Start on a high note and end on a high note. Well, give us some examples. Absolutely. Easy. I don't give examples in the context of the cases you have tomorrow, because if I did, this is what you do, and you wouldn't, you know, that's not my intention. So, hypothetical case. Where are you going to get your privacy? Well, how about those good themes? Remember the themes we put up on the board? We had all our good themes. We're going to come you did improve. Thanks. Okay. God, these there's no bouquet, there's no taste, there's no aroma to it, okay? But even though, did you read in the paper today that Macon, Georgia has the best water in the United States? Anybody read that today? Yeah, it was in the paper today. I knew they'd have the best of something. They had. Anyway. Okay. We look at our themes, our good themes, and we select a good theme. And we start our cross-examination with the good theme. I have the young lady here who was mugged underneath the viaduct, okay, at midnight. It was dark out, the viaduct's even darker. I've got her on the stand, I'm going to start the cross-examination. What am I going to, it's an eyewitness identification case, okay? How about through the primacy to start? Yeah, here we go. We can agree it was dark out there.
Yes.
Ah, there you go, you got it. You see it? It's simple as all that. Use a theme that's a good theme, and that's your start. You want to make sure you're going to get a yes on the answer, and what you're doing, by the way, in primacy, you're going to, I know my outline says 3 ways to do it. I'm going to confess, I only like 2 of the 3. Okay, so I always use, and I want you to use tomorrow, 1 of 2 to start on. And it's, we can agree, or the other one is fair to say. Those look good, they sound good. We can agree or fair to say, okay? So we did that. Fair to say it was dark out that night, okay? You say, yeah, but Terry, is there anything other than a theme? Oh gosh, there are. What else might we have available to us for great primacy? How about the methods of impeaching a witness? Aha, the methods of impeaching a witness. If we've got them in our case, they may be perfect primacy. Now, by the way, hypothetically, I will tell you, a couple of us were at a seminar a couple of months, a month and a half ago. I don't know how long ago it was. Tony and Heather and myself were at this particular seminar, and some JoJo got up and gave what he considered to be a talk on impeachment. It was a horseshit talk. But what he said early on was, you know, there's only 4 ways to impeach a witness, but I've thought of a 5th one. I don't think he ever told us what his 5th one was, but it doesn't matter. If you pick up, I shouldn't be where I am now because you're going to be doing this next week, but if you pick up a book on trial advocacy, indeed, the book they used to teach judges in Reno at the judges school, if you pick up a book, they will tell you there are 5 ways to impeach a witness. Oh, dipshits, you're wrong. There's those evidence professors, right again. There are 13 ways to impeach a witness, God damn it. So you look at the list and you say, well, do I have any of these? Somebody, anybody in this room, give me better primacy than what I'm about to demonstrate to you, and I'll buy you a Guinness. You ready? Think of anything that would be better primacy than this. I've got to find the perfect person for. You know, Mark, can I use a member of the faculty? Of course I can. I've got to pick the perfect person. I'm looking for the Lombrosian characteristics that I want here. Now, Think of primacy better than this. Anything you can think of. Ready? We can agree you're a convicted felon. Tell me something better than that. There is nothing better than that. Now, I'm not going to go into it because next week you're going to be doing impeachment. And that doesn't stop there. That conviction of a felony, the rest, it takes a good 5 minutes at least. When I do it 10, but most people 5 minutes to use that, okay? But what a great way to start. Fair to say you're a convicted felon, or we can agree there's nothing better, nothing ever will be better than that. But he's not a convicted felon, Terry. So we got the next guy, and he's not a convicted felon. Oh, to hell with it. We can agree you're a convicted. No! Shit, the jury's heard it, it's great. No. You wonder why I get in trouble with the ethics board. No, you don't want to do that, obviously. So we go down the food chain in impeachment to something a little less. How about this? I think pretty impactful. We can agree you're a liar. That's 608 impeachment. Great shit. And you hope, by the way, that you got the lies he's told, 2 of them or whatever. And he says, no, I'm not a liar. Oh, then it's going to take a little longer, and you're going to have more fun with that than you've ever had in your life. Or if you don't have a convicted felon, you don't have a liar, we go down the food chain a little bit, and we do, fair to say, you work for the prosecutor's office. Yeah, something like that, okay? Motivation impeachment. But make sure that you start your cross-examination. Oh, by the way, don't start your cross-examination with a horseshit salutation. This is not the time. The Duke study says jurors get turned off by this. Besides, we're going to start with primacy, we're going to honor Aristotle, and so we're going to start with something good. So no more of this bullshit at the start. Oh, good morning, Miss Jones. I hope you had a good trip to the courthouse today. It's getting a little warm out there, but we know how to handle that. Now, if I ask you anything you don't understand, you just let me know. By the way, would you like a little coffee and donuts before we get started? And all this shit. That's the way I was taught to do it. And then I read a book. I don't read many. I color about 5 books a year, but I read one. And that's not the way to do it. That shit goes up. And by the way, while I'm at it, name, or honorific, doctor, captain, whatever. Don't use them. One exception. You'll be glad when I get to the exception, because that means I am about a minute away from the end of the lecture, okay? There's only one exception. Don't call him by name. Huh? Well, why do I call him? Don't call him anything. You don't have to call him anything. Why not? I'm not going to take the time to explain it to you unless you want to talk to me over a beer in the cave, but every time you use somebody's name, you're empowering them. You're giving them some control or an honorific. So we don't use names. One notable exception, I will get to that notable exception in about 50, I'll maybe get you out of here a little earlier, but in about 54 minutes, okay? We'll get to the exception. But no names when you're starting. So we're going to start with primacy. Lately I have not been talking about recency, but you know what, you've had a lot of this stuff. You need a little bit of entertainment, just a little bit of entertainment. So I'm going to give you something that's not critically important to your learning as trial lawyers, but it's entertaining. How many of you have heard, seen, for that matter, Irv Younger's 10 Commandments of cross-examination? You got to learn how to raise your hands, kid. There's 2 ways to raise hands, okay? If there's any judges in here, and God forbid, I don't think there are, but if there's judges in here, judges raise their hands like this. You see it? Like that? That's the way judges do it. Trial lawyers raise their hands like this. See the difference? Judges, trial lawyers. You say to me, I don't understand. And at the end of the night, the waitress comes with the bill. Puts it on the table. You watch that judge, there this judge. Oh, I'll get that bill, but their arms only go this far. Trial lawyers go like this and they pick up the bill. So I'm just curious, how many people have heard of Younger's talk? How many lawyers? Okay, not that many. Okay. The rest of you, by the way, notwithstanding the bad things I said about Irv, Cornell back there, yeah, but she didn't hear that, but that's all right. But that's something you could watch. Why? Because you'll learn some evidence, and he was a master speaker, very entertaining, very poignant, if not accurate, examples, okay? So Irv's talk is worth it. But anyway, those of you who heard Irv's talk, I'm talking now about recency, ending on a high note, starting on a high note, right, and ending on a high note, okay? Now, Irv had one of his 10 commandments that sounds like my recency. I say end on a high note. What did he say about the end of a cross-examination? His was a commandment, don't do it, okay? What was it?
Regarding our objection?
No. By the way, I obviously didn't hear that when I used to do my shit. But anyway, yeah, no, I'm going to help you because most of you won't remember it. Remember Irv, one of his 10 commandments was, don't ask the one question too many. Do you remember that now? It's coming back to you, and you heard that, and you said, oh my God, that's the word of God. I've learned it. I'm going to be a better cross-examiner knowing this. Don't ask the one question too many. But there was a problem with it. And what was the problem? He didn't tell you how you would know you were getting to the one question too many. And so the civil trial lawyer from South Jesus, Kansas, is going to be trying his big case. And he says, what am I going to do? I want to avoid the one question too many. He says, well, I got 2 hours of cross-examination here. I know what I'll do. I'll cut the 2 hours down to an hour, and that'll eliminate the possibility of the one question too many. Makes sense. So he did. Did he improve his cross-examination? Absolutely. 1 hour of horseshit is better than 2 hours. So he improved it, and so the world was a better place for it. But don't ask the one question too many. Makes no sense to anybody but an evidence teacher. It makes no sense to you people as trial lawyers. Come with me for a second. Let's see if those of you who heard his talk remember the example. He used some great examples, some very poignant examples. They weren't accurate all the time, nor was this one, but they were poignant and you don't forget them. What was his example? Does anybody remember the case he used to make this point? Anybody?
Lincoln case?
The what?
Abe Lincoln case?
Yeah, well, you answered the second question. And stay right there and I'll let you answer the second question. Yeah, but what the case itself was, good call there, man. What the case itself was, it was a nose bite-off case. A nose bite-off case. And I'll give you the second one. It happened in my beloved Illinois, by the lovely lakes and waters, Illinois, okay? And you will now answer, after you will make it the third one now, the third. Who was the criminal defense lawyer in the case? None other than honest Abe Lincoln. And that was the case, okay? A nose bite. By the way, you should know, if you don't know it already, that every area of the country has a certain crime which is indigenous to the area. Illinois, nose bite-offs. We have more nose bite-offs in Illinois per year than the rest of the country put together. It's a sad thing to walk down beautiful Michigan Avenue, the greatest street in the world, on a hot summer's day, and you walk all along, Andy, and you look at the people, and about 1 out of every 10 is an angle. They were victims of nose bites. It's terrible. That's the one bad thing about, well, in governors, we have problems with governors. Illinois, okay? But, by the way, how many of you are from Georgia? Okay, the people from Georgia, you better not laugh at what I just said. Why? Because I know what the #1 crime in Georgia would be. At least I know what it would be if animals could testify. But was there a low blow? I love doing that. So anyway, that was terrible. We're going to put a little bit of fun into what you're doing. We're here to learn, but we're here to laugh. Laugh not only at other things, but at ourselves. Okay, here we go. Lincoln. Right, he's cross-examining a bird watcher appropriately. We have a lot of those in Illinois. And he's cross-examining the bird watcher on this nose bite-off case. And he looks at the way, he doesn't do it this way as Lincoln. None of those, we'll get to this in a moment, knew how to cross-examine. You're going to learn that they didn't know. And he goes, where's my bird watcher? You guys, I need a bird watcher. I definitely. You're my bird watcher, young man, okay? And so here he is, my bird watcher. And Lincoln, I like people in front, so I can look at him. And he says to him, he said, well, you were out watching birds. Yes, you were looking at birds, yeah, looking at it. This is not the way Lincoln did it, but it's the way it should have been done. You were looking in the woods, yes. And you weren't looking at those 2 men over there. No, no, you didn't see him bite the nose off. And the witness says, no. And now, Irv Younger jumps up. And Irv says, see, that's it. Now, Lincoln should stop and sit down. But no, even Abraham Lincoln will screw up. And he will ask the one question too many. And now Lincoln looks at the bird watcher and he says, well, if you didn't see him bite it off, how do you know he bit it off? And the witness responds, I saw him spit it out, and Lincoln was dead in the water, okay? And that is what he uses to teach us. Don't ask the one question too many. Oh, good God. To start with, it was not only a question, it was an open-ended question. Stupidity, none of you will ever ask an open-ended question after this afternoon, okay? And Lincoln, you didn't have the benefit of learning with us. But it was stupid. But more important than that, your trial lawyers, Irv Younger wasn't. Irv, I got news for you. You know what follows cross-examination? Redirect examination. Now let's assume Lincoln did it the way you wanted it. You didn't see him bite it off. No. And Lincoln now, in obedience to Irv's command, sits down, doesn't ask the one question too many. And now the prosecutor stands. I will guarantee that the most incompetent prosecutor in Illinois, and Kelly, you know this, there's much competition for that job, but the most incompetent prosecutor in all of Illinois will start that direct examination with, Charlie, you didn't see him bite it off? How do you know he bit it off? And now we'll get the same answer. I saw him spit it out. In the first instance, Lincoln looked dumb. In the second instance, what did Lincoln lose? His credibility. The most important thing you got. Lincoln lost it, okay? So one question too many is not the answer, but in that high note, it was dark that night, yeah, okay? And you're a convicted felon, that's all you got. You're a liar, you work for the government, whatever the hell you got, you use and make sure you do it. By the way, excuse me. This is not my drink of choice. Water is terrible. Water has no aroma, no taste, no bouquet to it, okay? I was, believe it or not, who was I talking, I'm dying to remember it, I can't. A young lady who said she was going to go to get a graduate degree in philosophy. Who was that?
Oh,
Was it you?
Yeah. No.
Well, it was somebody told me that. But anyway, I was a philosophy major in college, and I studied all the world's great philosophers, and I fell in love with one of them. One of them became my hero, and he was a United States philosopher. His name, W.C. Fields. Brilliant man, brilliant philosopher. And W.C. Fields told me, he warned me against drinking water. Did you know that?
Yes.
Fields said, don't drink water because fishes fornicate it. I try not, but my throat is so dry. WC, I apologize. What you do is you take a little Irish whiskey and put it in there, and it distills it beautifully, kills all the fornication dust and all that. And it adds bouquet and taste and everything, but excuse me. Overhead! Watch this. I do magic stuff. Watch this. They asked me, I said, I'll give you a signal when I want it. What was your question? What will the signal be? And I said, how about overhead? Okay. This is about as fancy as I can get. We're not going to be able to cover all of this. By the way, time to do a little shameless thing, but I'll do it right now. Mention was made by Andrea in a wonderful introduction about the fact that I did write a book. I have been writing that book for 20 years. I finally, well, they opened me up as was mentioned, and I had about 11 weeks of recuperation where I could do absolutely nothing. So I finally sat down and I wrote my book on cross-examination about what we're talking about, but oh God, so much more. A lot of illustrations from the college in there, by the way, and it's a good book. I hate to tell you that, it's a good book. But there's a problem with the book. The book was grossly overpriced when it first came out. They charged, the ABA published it, and the ABA charged $130 for this book. I was livid. And I told them, that's bullshit. I want the defenders of the world to have it, and the defenders of the world aren't gonna plunk down $130 for a book, okay? And I was angry as hell. And then they compounded it by giving it to Amazon.com. By the way, I learned something. If you ever wanna buy a book, buy it from Amazon.com. It's cheaper there than any place else, normally, okay? So they gave it to Amazon.com. By the way, you can read the reviews. You know, all the books in Amazon.com, you're allowed to review them. You're allowed to put your comments in. And there are a slew of comments over here on my book, all of them very, very positive, but there is one negative comment over here. One, only one. Nobody has ever joined it either. It was done by Joe the Cop from New Jersey, okay? And Joe the Cop, and I later found out he does this with a lot of books. Joe the Cop didn't like my books because I equate witnesses with puppies. And I will before we're through, but but otherwise, all the bar associations that have written on it like it. So it's a pretty good book, but they were charging too much. And now they gave it to Amazon.com, and I said to the ABA, hey, ABA, you got a problem, guys, a moral problem. How can you sell the book for $130 to your members when you know that anybody can go on Amazon.com and buy the book for $80, I don't know, they keep changing the price, but $89. I said, doesn't that bother you a little bit? Whatever. So anyway, I refused to sell the book or have anything to do with selling the book until we came to a compromise. And here's my compromise. When I give a talk, and I think that's what I am doing here, when I give a talk, I am allowed to sell the book for the magnificent sum of $73. Is that still too much? Yes, it is still too much. But you know what? It's almost worth it. okay? And the book is a good one. It tells you how to get a witness say anything you want. It uses some of the illustrations that you people are playing with here at the college. It talks about things that we don't have time to talk about in here. Some really, well, plausibility cross, which is so critical, verisimilitude cross, all that stuff, we're not going to be able to talk about it here today. The book covers it. Now, if anybody is interested in the book for the $73 price, which is cheaper, you can get it at Amazon.com, start if you would. If somebody would start start with another one here, even if you don't want the book and you're on the end, start a piece of paper going around, and anybody that signs up, I will follow through and have the ADA send you the book for the $73. It's worth it. Close. Okay? So now I've done my shameless thing. I can shut up and keep going on. This is what we're going to do now. We're going to go into the actual system so that tomorrow you can cross-examine using the system, okay? There's the formula. Short plus statements equal control. Now, stop for just a moment. Is it control we're after? Is this our God, control? And the answer is actually no. Criminal defense lawyers have an obsession with control. We want control above everything else. That's not right. Civil lawyers don't give a shite about control. They don't care about control at all. That's not their game. They're both wrong. Both of us are wrong. Control is important. You want control. However, you're going to find yourself willing to sacrifice control for a better purpose. If the witness looks bad by denying you control, that's the better purpose. I have a theory that in the federal court, it's really difficult to win a case in the federal court unless the witnesses fight you. I want the witnesses to fight this system that I'm going to teach you. Because if they fight you, they start looking bad, okay? And that's what we want. But we're going to work on control tomorrow. But if the witness denies you control, I'm going to teach you, if you use this system of short statements, accurate short statements, you're going to find you're going to gain more in the long run from that witness, okay? The obstructionist witness. So now, let's talk about this real quick. Let's take each turn. Short. Everybody tells you now, cross-examination, you've got to be short. We all know that. Well, Irv Younger says be short, but I gotta tell you, Irv Younger's shorts and my shorts are different shorts. I mean short when I say short, okay? Now, everybody tells you to be short, but nobody tells you why you should be short. And here you go. Reasons you gotta be short. 3 reasons. Number 1, research. Again, by communicating, not by lawyers. And the research was geared to this issue. Does the length of the question affect the length of the answer? They used John F. Kennedy's press conferences, and they concluded that usually yes. By the way, we could save them a lot of money by giving them our transcripts. And when you go back to South Jesus, Kansas, you look at your transcripts, and you will see that whether it's you or somebody else, when they go long, the witness goes long. When you stay short, the witness usually stays short. We could have saved them all this money, but that's not the point. But they concluded that the question does affect the length of the answer, okay? Now, that's number 1. Number 2, I call it the Los Angeles syndrome. Remember these facts, because these are the ones, particularly you people in the front, because you're easy targets for them. I can see you, okay? But here we go. Have you ever seen a lawyer get up in a courtroom and do something like this, okay? I'll use perjuring people for this one, okay? You don't have to worry. This is a non-speaking part. Okay? So anyway, most of the time it is, but that's beside the point. Have you ever seen a lawyer get up and do something like this? Now, Mr. Witness, And by the way, notice, it's all gonna be this way, not to the jury. Mr. Witness, isn't it a fact that you exited Murphy's Bar at or about 3 o'clock in the afternoon? You exited out to Adams Street, where there was a light rain, and you observed a vehicle. And the vehicle you observed was a green Pontiac convertible. And you further observed the driver of the vehicle, a man you knew to be Tom Clancy. And you also observed a passenger in the front seat of the vehicle. The passenger you observed was a blonde woman who you did not know, and that vehicle was going west on Adams. Isn't that correct? And what does the witness say? No. And when the witness says no, what the hell do? You have just put a big sausage out there, and now you gotta cut it up into little pieces. That is stupid, okay? And so we want to avoid that crap, right? Now, third reason you want to be short, common sense reason. The shorter you are, the less chance you're gonna fuck up. So here we go. Now, how many people in here have heard me talk on this subject? I would not be surprised. Oh, not that many. Not that many, okay. Good, I'm bringing the sheaves. Okay, here we go. Those of you who have heard me speak, and I know one or two of you will lie about this, those of you who have heard me speak, you are not allowed to answer the next question. Fair enough? Fair enough. But the ones that have not, I beg your help here, okay? Now, we want to be short. We want to get this thing short, right? My question to you now is, how short can we get it? In other words, how few words can we get? I just read an unlearned article, Kelly, in the Illinois Bar Journal, and there's a judge in there who writes about cross-examination. Oh boy, that's a good one. And he gives us a rule of thumb. He said your question should never exceed 15 words. That's what he says, okay? Well, now with that in the back of our mind, my question to you is, how short can we get? In other words, how few words can we use in cross-examination? I know somebody up here wants to answer, but you gotta smile for me. Yeah, otherwise, I'm gonna call you Nancy. You got a beautiful smile. She doesn't. She is perpetually incapable of smiling. Yes?
One.
One? I got one. Does anybody want to say none? The ethnic Bailey method? Nobody wants to say none. You don't want to get down there. Okay. One? Holy shit. Not a very generous offer, but one. I need some more. Somebody a little more reasonable than one. Come on.
35.
What, how many?
5.
5. I got Miss 5 over. Thank you, young lady, for contributing. I have 1. I've got 5. Anybody else?
3.
Who said 3? Okay, I got 5. I'm going to use them. You know why? You're too far away, can't see you. Okay, I'm going to use, who said 3 up here? Okay, I'm going to use you, okay? 3. 3, by the way, is an intelligent guess. Why? Because every time I ask for a number, the correct answer is 3, except for 3 times, okay? So 3 is a good answer. So I have 3, I have 5, and I have 1, right? Okay? Here you go. I gotta put my jacket on for this. Coming all the way from Chicago to do this, we've gotta do it right. We can't fall in our face. The answer is 1, believe it or not. I call this look good cross-examination. Everybody else calls this MacCarthy. Give us some more of that one-word cross-examination shit. That's what they call it, okay? And so the answer is 1, believe it or not. Well, now, 1 is interesting, but Miss 5, God bless you, you're there as a doubting Thomasine, and rightfully so. And you're saying to yourself, how the hell can you get it down to 1 word, you dipshit? So I'm going to use you as an example. Are you ready now? Watch this. Come all the way from Chicago to do this. Green.
If you say so.
Hey, Nancy, did you hear her answer? I fell straight on my face, didn't I? I didn't do one word cross. I looked like a fool, right? And you're the one that encouraged me, one word. Holy shite, okay? Well, the truth of the matter is you're still right. It's still one. But you cannot do one word cross unless and until you do three things first, okay? And here, well, you got them all. All of this now is in your outline, but here's the three things you have to do. By the way, get out that red flag, Terry, for the first two, for sure, because what I'm going to share with you now is contrary to the conventional wisdom, okay? And here it is, real quickly. I want you to eliminate the prefixes, number one. Number two, eliminate the suffixes. Couldn't you have made that the same one and just said eliminate the taglines? Yes, I could have, but I didn't want to, because if I had done that, I would have only had two things, and I always want three things, okay? So eliminate the taglines, the things that make it a traditional leading question. Why are we going to eliminate those? Because I'm going to tell you, but not now. About 17 minutes from now, I will tell you why we're going to eliminate them, but not yet, okay? And then number three, and of all the things that I'm going to share with you right now, to my way of thinking, this is the most important. This is my little gift to you for being here with us this week. And here it is. Listen to it, learn it, and learn it well. It will change your life. We're going to open up our toolbox, our criminal defense toolbox. Open it up, and I'm going to reach down in this toolbox, and I'm going to pull out a tool. And the tool I'm going to pull out is called the transition. What a tool. It's the greatest tool in the world when it comes to cross-examination. It's a very helpful tool in direct examination as well, should you ever do direct examinations. But it's a necessary tool in cross-examination, the transition. Why? Because in part it's a communicative tool, and we're all about communication, so we're going to communicate with this tool. Now, the problem is, and there is a problem, the problem is you dipshits. I dare say each and all of you. Now, where's Amanda? She always drops a plea and says, well, I'm an appellate lawyer. So maybe she's clean. Maybe she is not committed to sin, but everybody else in this room, I fairly feel, has committed the sin I'm about to announce. Is there anybody in this room who has never put a witness on the stand in direct examination? Anybody? Never in direct. Anybody? Every one of you have? Okay, good. Then I know I'm dealing with a room full of sinners here. Each and every one of them is a sinner. But I'm going to give you absolution in a couple of minutes, on condition, of course. But you know what you people have done? Every stinking one of you. You've walked into a courtroom with your bare face showing, a judge up on the bench, and out of your foul mouths came language something like this. I'll go back to my perjuring Pete. Directing your attention, this is on direct examination, by the way, directing your attention to April 5th at or about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, in or around Murphy's Bar. What, if anything, unusual occurred? We laugh. I like that laugh because that makes you smile. Okay. Is there anybody in this room can honestly say they've never spoken something like that in a courtroom? At least I've got honest people We have honest people. Each and every one of you has spoken like that in the courtroom. How do I know? I spoke like that in the courtroom. We all did. Why? Because we were told that's the way lawyers speak, trial lawyers, right? And we want to sound like trial lawyers, so directing your attention to what, if anything, unusual occurred, that became part and parcel of us speaking like trial lawyers. Well, you heard Heather talk about it. Now I'm going to bring it home to you clear and simple. That's stupid. That's the way they spoke in the time of Chaucer. That has come to us from prosecutors. Generation, not the current prosecutors didn't create it, the ones at the time of Chaucer, directing your attention to what, if anything, unusual occurred. That's a mouthful of shit, okay? It violates my rule. Oh, you're gonna like my rule. Oh, you're gonna love my rule. You know, wait till you hear this. This will save you money. You ready for it? You ready for it? Here it is. I have 198 rules of trial advocacy. I'll share with you one of them right now. You ready for it? You speak in a courtroom the way you speak in a bar. Stop and think about it now. You know, if I were to go up to you in the bar last night, young lady, and say, well, directing your attention to at or about an hour before this, what if anything unusual occurred in this bar? What would you say? This guy is a lunatic, right? You want to get out of the bar, right? So it doesn't pass the litmus test. It's stupid. So if it's stupid in the bar, it's stupid. Now, what's the good news about this? Here it is. You ready for it? You go in tonight for dinner, and you say, you know what I'm going to do? You go to a bar. You got to go to a bar to get this, understand? And you bar serve food. What the hell? And when you go in the bar, Miss Five, what you're going to do is you're going to have an extra 2 martinis. But they're expensive, Terry. Don't worry about it. You can now tax deduct them. What are you doing in the bar? You're learning to speak like a trial lawyer. That's your reason for being in the bar. So it becomes tax deductible to you, okay? So you're going to tax deduct. But there's the rule. We speak in a courtroom the way we speak in a bar, and we don't speak about directing attentions or what, if anything. By the way, prosecutors are not totally to blame. The what, if anything language, guess who put that in there? The evidence teachers, of course. Evidence teachers, they wear belts and braces at the same time. What, was it objectionable? No, it wasn't objectionable, but they wanted even less objectionable. So what if anything occurred? And they gave us that horse shit language that we still use. Get rid of it. You all have my absolution on condition. You never speak like that in a courtroom again. However, you say to me, Terry, problem? We need a substitute. I'm going to give you your substitute. Another gift from me to you. Are you ready for it? Here you go. Right? Where's Miss Fire? We're back to cross-examining Miss Fire. This just for the hell of it. You ready, young lady? Yeah, okay, good. Now, that, let me look like a lawyer a little bit anyway, right? I want to ask you some questions about what you saw when you left Murphy's bar at 3 o'clock. You understand? Yes. Did you see it? Did you hear it? That's a transition, gang. But that's a beautiful transition. That's a transition that you could use in the bar tonight, okay? I want to ask you some, by the way, let's break it down. I want to ask you some questions. Are you going to ask her questions? No, absolutely, you're lying. But that's all right. You're a trial lawyer, you're allowed to lie once in a while, right? So I want to ask you some questions about, and whatever the hell it is you want to go into, you're going to go into, okay? Now, I told you 198 rules of trial advocacy. Rule 37, I used just there. It's not important right here. It gets more important in other places, but let me share it with you. Body language, again. You want to be a great trial lawyer? You got to learn to use your head. You mean you're going to make us think? No, no, no. Just learn to use your head. Just nod your head up and down. Practice doing this. This is good shit. Anytime you want somebody to say yes, just look at them, tell them something, and nod your head. And they will nod their head. She nodded her head when I said that. Her head went like this. I have won big bets all over the country because people challenge me and say, well, by the way, you can do it. Tonight, you're going to dinner. You'll walk in, the maitre d' in the restaurant picks you up. You look at the maitre d' and you say, you have a good table for me. Oh, yes, sir. You get a good table. You're checking into a hotel. You'll get a better room. Oh, you have a good room for me. Yes, sir. Use it. It works. It works in everyday life, okay? It's not critical right here. It will be more critical, though, if you get an objection. And then you must face the judge. And you look, and there's a young lady who looks judicial to me now. And you look at the judge and you say, as your honor well knows, with the head going. And his honor's or her honor's head is going like this. Now, unfortunately, you have to follow it up a little bit of law. You can't just say, well, knows rule for me, but we're not talking about that right now, okay? But get the bloody head going. And there's your transition. We'll do it again, just to show you. You won't use it enough tomorrow, and that's what's gonna screw you up. The more you use it, the better your cross will be. Now, let's go back to the cross. We ready? I want to ask you some questions about what you saw when you left Murphy's bar at 3 o'clock. You understand?
Yes.
Yeah. Now, watch it. Remember all the things I told you about, because you're going to see them come to roost now. You ready? Yeah. You walked outside.
Yes.
Now, see it? Walked outside. You're painting pictures. Remember, everybody's telling you to paint pictures. God damn it, paint pictures with body language, too. Because then you will be more interesting and people will listen to you. You walked outside,
Yes.
a little bit of rain coming down.
Yes.
You saw a car.
Yes, I did.
Now, what am I doing? I'm going to tell you what I'm doing. I am telling a story. And to get you into the story mode, I'm going to give you a suggestion that I'm embarrassed to tell you a judge gave to me. About a dozen years ago, he heard this talk. And he said, Terry, I love what you're doing with those guys. He said, let me give you a suggestion. To get them into the story mode and away from the damn law school brief. And he said, you have them say to themselves, oh, Judas Priest, don't say it out loud. You'd embarrass yourself. But you say to yourself the magic words, once upon a time. And that gets you into the story. Now watch the story as we move that's good so I can see it. Now watch, we're going to tell the story. Are you ready? And here's the system in operation, okay? You saw a car,
Yes.
Pontiac,
Yes.
convertible,
Yes.
green.
Yes.
Nah. Did we do it that time? Did we get her right to one word? We had a couple right before that. And here we go. We keep going with the story, okay? And you knew the driver.
Yes.
That was Clancy,
Yes.
Tom Clancy.
Yes.
And there was a passenger in the car,
Yes.
a woman,
Yes.
a blonde woman.
Yes.
But you didn't know her.
No, I didn't.
And the car was going west.
I think so, yes.
The car was going west.
Yes.
On Adams. Now, a transition. You don't know, just go along with me on the transition. Now, I want to ask you about the next time you saw the car, about an hour later, around 4 o'clock. You understand?
Yes.
Clancy was still driving.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, but you couldn't see the woman in the car.
No.
Now, by the way, in real life, I wouldn't do it that way. I'm doing it that way to show you the control part, but in real life, what I would have said is the woman wasn't in the car. Why? Because I would have hoped that the dipshit witness would fight me. Oh, she might have been in the car. She might have been on the floor hiding. Now, if you heard that from a witness, what would your thoughts be? She's a dipshit, okay? And that's really the answer you prefer. You know, if she was on the floor hiding, you know. But I just want the yes. So, and now the car was going east
Yes.
on Monroe.
Yes.
Yeah, now, I want to ask you some questions about what you did the next morning when you got up. You understand? You got dressed.
Yes.
You put some shoes on.
Yes.
2 shoes.
Yes.
Yeah, and then there you go. You've got the guts of the system. You see it? Short statements. We're going to get to that in a moment. That's the most important thing, but we're going to get to it in a moment. You've got the guts of the system. Now, Heather, God bless her, who is one of my favorite lawyers, Heather talked to you about looping. How is you can loop? Let's say you want to loop green. You like green. Green's important. You color car. Oh, well, watch it and see if we can tie it in with something else I said before. Watch what we do with green. You know, I'm just going to go towards the middle. Yeah. And you saw a car.
Yes.
Green.
Yes.
And now we're going to loop green, okay? And you knew the driver of the green car.
Yes.
Clancy was driving the green car.
Yes, he was.
And there was a passenger in the green car.
Yes.
Now, what else are you going to do with it? I'm looking for a genius. I can't hear you. No, you've repeated it 3 times. What else might you do with it? Something I said.
Blackboard.
Go up to your little blackboard that you stole from the Italian restaurant and write green car on the blackboard. And now, by God, you've got a green car. And that's what being a communicator and a trial lawyer is all about, okay? You got the system. Let's jump over to what I think maybe is the most important and significant aspect of this system, where we change, we leave the past behind. I want to bring you into the 21st century. Interesting. If you look at cross-examination, you will find that, like everything else, it has a history to it. And the history of cross-examination is broken appropriately into 3 facets, 3 parts, okay? You go back and read the old cross-examinations. This is not comfortable, in case anybody. But you read, it isn't. Look at that goddamn thing, you know. But I love your laugh. But she's laughing at me. Here you go. Go back and read the old, Abraham Lincoln. We saw it, we heard it. Read Clarence Darrow, who one of the great men that ever walked the face of the earth was Clarence Darrow. But his cross-examinations, all of the old ones, you know what they, well, by the way, the 3 facets of the history of cross are the 3 things you can do today when the judge looks down at you and says, counsel, you may cross-examine. These are the 3 options available to you, okay? What's the first one? The oldest form of history of cross, the question, including the open-ended question. Did you go to the store? Why did you go to the store? A question, an open-ended question, okay? You will never use that. Anybody in this room ever asked a question? I know Lincoln asked one, but anybody in this room, I will come back and I will eat your firstborn. Cross-examination is not the time for the Discovery Channel. It's not the time to find out what the hell the case is all about. You know, and Ephraim Zimbalist Jr. down there. Do you know anything else about my defendant over here that you'd like to share with the jury? Come on, this is stupid. We don't ask questions. Why don't we ask questions? For 3 reasons we don't ask questions. Number 1, if you ask questions, you will never get control of the witness. You'll never get control of the witness. Number 2, if you ask questions, you will be abrogating your right to be the storyteller. Who are you transferring the rights to tell the story to? The witness. And we don't want to do that. You must be the storyteller, not the witness, okay? And thirdly, when you ask the witness a question, allow him to tell a story, what else are you telling the jury about this witness? You're telling them you trust the witness's answer. You're telling them, hey, here's a guy who's going to give you the right answer. Now, what did you see? You know, that's shit, okay? So we don't ask questions, right? Now, all of a sudden, I've been trying to trace this, not with great success, by the way, but the measure of success. But sometime in the early 70s, probably Nina started it, and this college picked it up a couple of years later. But somewhere in the early 70s, we came to the second facet of cross-examination, historically. The use of the traditional leading question. You went to the store, isn't that correct? And there it was. And many of the greats and the near great lawyers, that's what they taught at the college down in Texas, okay? The use of the traditional leading question. But we know we're not going to use that anymore. How do we know it? Because I told you earlier, we're going to eliminate those taglines. I remember, and I said 17 minutes later, I'd tell you why. I'm going to tell you why now, okay? Is that an improvement? Oh, big improvement over questions, okay? And by the way, who will have a problem eliminating this? The more senior lawyers in here, the people who have tried the most cases, they have great difficulty converting to the new system the way it is. They still want to put in that horse shit. Isn't it correct and all that crap, okay? And that's why that little L group that'll be in here tomorrow, they'll be able to eliminate it very easily because they're not in the bad habit yet. Well, why don't we want the traditional leading question? Well, number one, you can never get one word across, can you? It's, at best, it's going to come out green, correct? Yeah, that's 2 words. You can't do it, so it's never going to be one word across. Number two, what the hell do you think you sound like when you're, isn't that correct? Yeah, you went to the store, isn't that correct? Yeah. And you bought some tomatoes, isn't that correct? You bought some potatoes, isn't that correct? And you bought some onions, isn't that correct? What the hell do you think you sound like? You sound like a lawyer, and people don't like lawyers. Why? Because they sound like this shit. That's why they don't like us. And so get rid of the legal talk. Get rid of it. And the third and most important reason we're going to get rid of it is what? It doesn't lend itself to our storytelling. Remember the thing that this wonderful, wonderful place is teaching you about storytelling. Oh, here, let's give it the litmus test. I call my granddaughter over. Deirdre, come over here. Grandpa's going to tell you a story. Put her on my knee, okay? And say, now Deirdre, once upon a time, there was a young lady who was lost in the woods. Isn't that correct? And she was looking for some sort of a house. Isn't that correct? I mean, you don't do it. You don't tell stories with that shit in, okay? So eliminate it. Get rid of it. The more experienced you are, the more difficulty you're going to have with it to get rid of it. Will you have any problems using this when you go back to South Jesus, Kansas? The answer is no. Even in the early days, we didn't have many problems with it, and you shouldn't have any now. What happens if you get a problem? You're going to have to read the book, because I don't have time. I got one more thing I've got to finish, and I want to try and let you out here right around the ordained hour. But there are easy ways to diffuse a judge or a prosecutor who would be stupid enough to object. You're right, I object. She's not asking questions. Oh, you asshole. And then we really stick it to them so they'll never say that again. But I don't have time to do that with you now because I want to do one last thing for you so that tomorrow when you go into your sections you can handle the last part. And that is, what about the intractable witness? What about the witness who doesn't want to play this game? What about the witness who doesn't want to simply say, yes, okay? How do we handle them? By the way, I've already told you that in real life, this is the witness I want. This is the witness that will help me win the case. But you're not going to get that impression tomorrow because you're not quite into the system yet, but you'll see it eventually. So what happens when you've got a witness on the stand and you say to the witness, you saw a car, and the witness says, oh, you know, it was raining out, and I was trying to get my umbrella, and I had those few groceries, and there were eggs, and I was scared those eggs were going to fall on the ground. What do we have? You used a proper statement, right? But the puppy, this is where Joe the cop in New Jersey doesn't like me, okay? The puppy dog, and that's what it is. When you're cross-examining, you've got a puppy dog there, and you've got to toilet train that puppy dog, okay? So what's happened? The puppy dog just tinkled on your floor, damn it! So what do? Oh, I remember the early days of the college when we were just coming in with this system. And they've had great lawyers teaching here for years, and some of these great lawyers would be having dinner at night, and they say, Terry, I like the shit you're doing. I like it, it's good, but you're wrong. You're wrong. Why would you want to punish the puppy? The puppy didn't hurt you. All the puppy said was, I was trying to get him. That didn't hurt you. And I said, no, you've got to understand the system. Anytime and every time the puppy tinkles, you must punish the puppy. Why? Because tinkle always stinks. And if you allow that puppy to tinkle, pretty soon he's going to be tinkling all the more. And pretty soon there's going to be little brown things coming out of that tinkle, okay? So you must punish the puppy. Oh, what are we going to do? Run over and belt him with a baseball? No. This is a look-good system. Thank you, Gilbert and Sullivan. Make the punishment fit the crime. Okay, we're going to tweak them. The A group, you're in for a shock tomorrow. You're going to hear this tweak. It'll be in your subconscious for the rest of your life. We're going to tweak them. How do you tweak them? I got to talk quick here. You tweak them, you take a newspaper, roll it up, you go over to the tinkling puppy, and you just hit him in the nose with the newspaper. That's tweaking. That's tweaking the puppy, okay? That's all we're gonna do, and that's teaching them. I don't want you to tinkle anymore, you dumb puppy, and that's what we're going to do. Well, show us how to do it, absolutely. I'm going back to perjury, Pete. I like you, and I've ignored you a little bit lately. Are you ready, Pete? Okay, and I look at him and I say, you saw a car. Tinkle, 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 tinkle. Okay, what do I do now? And by the way, there's all kinds of ways to do this. Most of them are horseshit, and they're terrible. I recite a bunch of them